Okay, so this guy says, will the clues still exist in 100 years and 1,000 years? Thanks, Ron. The clues did not exist when I was a kid, but most of the places the clues refer to did. The clues are linked to a specific geographical location. I think that location, what it looks like that you're linking the poem clues to, I think they might still exist in 100 years, but the geography probably will change before we reach the next millennia. The Rocky Mountains are still moving. Associated physical changes will surely have an impact. If you are in the year 3009, it will be more difficult for you to find the treasure. He's just saying, again, these are real geographical places, and real geographical places, especially rivers that are constantly changing their course, will change over the years, especially if you're talking 100 or especially if you're talking 1,000 years. That's all they're saying. Real geographical spots, not GPS coordinates. Forrest, did you intend for there to be 9 clues, or did it work out just right with 9? He said, nice thinking, Halo. I didn't count the clues until the poem had been finalized. Although I changed it a few times over the months, I think the numbers stayed about the same. He's talking about geographical places and coming up with the way to describe them for us to figure out in the poem. And then there's a famous quote, some people correctly mentioned the first 2 clues to me in an email, and then they went right past the other 7, not knowing that they had been so close. That wouldn't even occur with a GPS solution. Could you tell us how many searchers, to your knowledge, have correctly identified the first clue correctly? No, 49. I cannot tell you how many searchers have identified the first clue correctly, but certainly more than several. I cannot imagine anyone finding the treasure without first identifying the starting point, although many seem to be preoccupied with later clues. To me, that's just expensive folly. Again, reasserting this concept that the clues go in a specific order, and you have to follow that order to get to the location. You don't do that with GPS solve at all. Our final guess is that the treasure may be, I like this one. Our final guess is that the treasure may be along Road 156 in Wyoming. Thank you for taking time out of your day to help us in our class. Oh, that's right. This is, I guess, a question he got from a class. Fenn says, you cannot solve the problem by starting in the middle of the poem. You should start with the first clue and then solve the other 8 in order. I know, folks, I'm really way overdoing it. But, you know, I'm only going to do one video about this, and people said, do you believe this GPS thing? And are you going to say anything about the GPS thing? And I'm just trying to make it very, very, very clear from the man himself, Forrest Fenn. That's why I called it Forrest Fenn versus the GPS solve. Forrest Fenn made it very clear. This is, I mean, you could say Forrest Fenn made it very clear how you're supposed to look for the treasure. And in doing that, he made it very clear, because of the way he said you're supposed to look for the treasure, that it's not GPS solve. I knew from the beginning, Forrest said, I knew from the beginning where to hide the treasure. It wasn't until later that the clues were provided to find that spot. I don't know that the poem will lead someone there, as you asked, but the poem does provide everyone with that opportunity. So there you have it, folks. What was the other thing I had copied here? Oh. This is just something I came up with that I thought was interesting story. This is, you know, all sorts of people were involved in this chase. And it never occurred to me that one of the people, and she's in an older age when she's doing it, it never occurred to me that a Playboy bunny would be looking for the treasure, but why not? I mean, look at I mean, there's so many characters that have been looking for the treasure. But this is a very interesting thing to keep in mind about Forrest Fenn. Seeing if there's anything more in here about... oh, this is something that I found interesting. Now this is something that gives even further doubt to me about the GPS solve. I mean, the GPS solve is just bullshit. I mean, I'll just put it bluntly because of everything I've told you during this video series. Here's one more thing I'll read you though from this article. That night, the three had dinner at the Buffalo Bar in West Yellowstone. Posey had a folder on his phone full of Fenn's quotes, and he pored over them looking for ways to confirm or disprove the location and make sense of his own failure to find it. He felt embarrassed. He had tried to derive geographical coordinates from the poem before, but he always made the mistake of starting at the top. To arrive at the correct coordinates, he would have to start at the word begin it in the second stanza, then wrap around to the top of the poem to get the last digit. He had hiked that same trail at least 8 times. He had been in that meadow. He had been in that forest, but he was too far south. In my estimation, he says, I was off by 600 feet. It's maddening how close I was. Maddening. Yeah, he really almost found it. He really almost found it. The guy who told Mike Calling that the Finder was going to put out the article on Medium.com, he was in a group looking for it, and he thinks he should get part of the treasure because he helped solve it, even though the Finder cracked the final code. How much effort can you put into finding numbers in a poem, and how would you even know? I mean, if any of them turned up to be in the Rocky Mountains, you'd have to give it a go, right? I'm sure this will all come out because really it would be wonderful if Mike Calling would contact this guy who told him about the Finder article coming out, who knows who the Finder is, and just say, could you please give me the identity of the Finder? For Posey, there were still discrepancies that didn't make sense. The longitude they computed had brought them exactly to the longitude of the site that matched the source's photo, but the latitude was 900 feet. Well, of course, because there were some different twig shapes over 900 feet away. Posey realized this must have been why it took the Finder 25 days of searching to actually locate the treasure. Oh, that's it, yeah. He had to find that little special patch of ground. The lack of precision nagged at Posey, but upon further analysis, it turned out that the final two coordinates, I assume, if read using a pilot's standard decimal minutes notation, would be 0.2, meaning 12 seconds, which put the solve location at the precise spot Posey found in the forest. What a bunch of absolute bull. You know, folks, if you can read stuff like that and keep a straight face and believe it, good luck. In my opinion only, I have a friend who has a legal background. Your opinion. Remember, it's just your opinion. Yeah, it's all my opinion. It's all my opinion. My opinion is the GPS solve is bullshit. That, you know, I don't know. I think that people are just trying to gin up. It's another word I'm going to look up. What does that mean? Gin up. They're trying to gin up views and subscribers from being the ones that know the location. We're here to teach you guys where the real location is. We know the location. And I tell you, that guy that told Mike about the Finder putting the article out a week later, he knows the Finder, but for some weird reason, I guess he's never going to tell us who the Finder is. And He's not ever going to tell on the finder, even though he apparently doesn't like the finder and he's pissed off he wasn't included in the treasure. Apparently he's not going to tell us who the finder is. And Justin Posey, I think, is going to have a treasure hunt where we're all looking for meteors that are worth a substantial amount of money. I mean, none of this has been confirmed. It's just in the wind. It's almost as if people just make stuff up and then people believe it and they watch and views. I know I'm going to get some comments. Yeah, we're watching you and you can't confirm anything either. Yeah, I know. Like K-Pro said, well, I mean, if I'm talking about Forrest Fenn, I may find this out to be really true. If I'm talking about Forrest Fenn, I get a lot more viewers than if I'm talking about, you know, I don't know, things to talk about in the future. But folks, that's all I got for you. The GPS solution, I have proved, although I cannot confirm it, that it is bullshit. It's bullshit. The GPS solution is bullshit. I cannot confirm that. You have to take my word for it. Forrest Fenn told us how to look for the treasure. It had nothing to do with the GPS solution. In fact, I would say it was the opposite. You had to go, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking. All right, all right, all right. Everybody have a good time. Let's get through this friggin' COVID. This COVID, so tired of wearing a mask. Walked all the way up to my convenience store that's right down the street. It's a gas station right before you pull into the, doesn't matter. And you know, I walk up, and normally the guys in there, they don't wear a mask. You know, they have these big plexiglass things they stand behind without their mask on. Thank you very much. But they're behind the plexiglass, so I guess it's okay. And then you do this thing underneath. And I walked all the way up to the door, and for the first time, they normally didn't care if you had the mask on. And for the first time, there's a big sign. By order of the great Moomba who lives in the Poomba, you know, you're going to have a mask on to walk in here. And so I go walk all the way back to my car, get my mask. But I mean, normally I wear my mask. You know, I'm not trying to be silly and flip because it's serious disease if you get it, although, you know, it's like 0.03 people die or something. But I had to walk all the way back to my car and get my mask and walk all the way back. But don't you feel better if you didn't get the disease? I still haven't got it. I'm in my 60s. I don't have it. What's going on? I go out every day. I go somewhere. I go to Starbucks. I go to the stores. I go get groceries. My tripod's wood. That's why I did that. All right, everybody, have a good time. See you later. We're living in very, very, very tempestuous times. Let's all gird our loins and fight through it. Taking it to the streets. Taking it to the streets. It could happen. Everybody have a good time. Bye. I'm really glad I remembered this. Remember I was telling the story about the Playboy Bunny? I'm sure someone out there was going, you mean, what happened with the Playboy Bunny? Okay. This has nothing to do with the GPS solved. It was just something I ran into while I was researching this particular video series. And it gives us a good insight into what Forrest Fenn was like. That Forrest Fenn would embellish, he would stretch the truth, he would lie. He would just not tell the truth sometimes. And it makes you wonder about things like, did he retrieve it? And you know, how kosher was the chase and all of the things that we want to really know happened. I mean, someone has got to do some sort of an investigation of this, don't they? To write a book or something. I mean, a reporter. We don't really have reporters anymore. We just have, well, it's another story. Anyway, this is the story, and it's pretty interesting. Fenn took a roguish approach to life and to facts. This is again in this article. That's where I got it from, was that article, that New York Times article. Fenn took a roguish approach to life and to facts. It doesn't matter who you are, it only matters who they think you are, he once said. Linda Durham, who interned with Fenn before going on to found her own contemporary art gallery, recalls seeing an Egyptian sarcophagus displayed at Fenn Gallery with a sign that read "De-accession" from the British Museum. I guess that means de-accession. I guess that means he got it from the British Museum. She knew this to be fiction. By sheer coincidence, the case had once belonged to her. A customer had given it to her when she was an Egyptology-interested Playboy bunny. She'd had it x-rayed, and she knew it contained a mummified baby crocodile. After she sold it to a private collector, it eventually found its way to Fenn. So this lady owned this sarcophagus that had a mummified crocodile in it, sells it to another guy, and later on she runs across it in Fenn's gallery. She knows it's not from the British Museum, even though he has a sign that says that. When she pointed out that the British Museum story was false, Fenn became angry. He had no idea where that came from, Durham says. So again, folks, you know, we all love to think Fenn was the twinkly-eyed little gentleman who just cared about the kids and the families getting out and going camping and stuff to look for the treasure, but the guy was a lot more complex than that, and I just really have so many questions, and I know everyone else does, about this treasure hunt and how it ended. I really do believe Forrest opened his mouth once too often, and I really do believe that solve got to someone. Second, third hand. And they were able to go find it. And maybe the 25 days that it took them, I guess on and off, or how in a row, or whatever they did this 25 days, was just because they knew a general location and had to just keep looking until they have found it. They just had to keep looking until they found it. That's all I got for you, folks. I'm glad I remembered the Playboy bunny story, and I will try to find pictures of her. The only pictures that I saw of her, she was pretty old. I know I'm probably coming off as really misogynistic. I don't care. I mean, if you're going to be a Playboy bunny, you want everyone to look at you because you think you're hot, right? You must. All right, folks, that's all I got for you. Everybody have a good day, and talk to you later. Bye.